For me, it is a pleasure to have the opportunity to come and share a few words with you tonight. Today being our 170th Independence Day, and we've been displaced from those grounds in this country, I find it very humbling, and I find it a great opportunity to be here to share with you tonight. I'm going to try to be very brief, because I know I was once told that brevity is the soul of wit. So when you're short, people get the message. So I will try not to be long, because I know how we are. When Liberian person starts talking to my men, making sit down, I'm talking too much. So I will not indulge you in big words and speeches, but I'm here to bring you encouragement. I think in the book of Romans, chapter 8, somewhere it says, Paul says, I'm eager to encourage you in your faith, but I'm also eager to be encouraged by yours, because in so doing, we can advance ourselves. So Mr. Bobby Santa, the officials of the Liberian Community Association here present in the Triad area, again, I want to thank you for allowing me to come and share a few words with all of us tonight, because these words themselves are meant to inspire me. And what was funny is that when I walked in the hall and was given the program sheet, and I turned to what my comrade wrote concerning in the second chapter of the President's message, it says, one definition of freedom is the power to determine action without restraint. So I underline the word action, because in my speech, and the good thing is I did not consult with the President, but my speech tonight coincides exactly with that message. But without further ado, let me get into the message. And as promised, I will be brief. Each year around the globe, this time, Liberians gather to celebrate our nation's independence. The occasion is usually and appropriately fraught with play and pageantry. But for over 2 decades now, there has been a thick cloud of despair, of despondency, and consternation that has hovered over the occasion. The expected aura of joy that usually accompanies occasion of this nature is overshadowed by questions of what the future holds. No time is better than now for our collective actions. No time is better than now to put our shoulders to the wheels of nation building. The path of destruction we chose has led us to a place of stagnation. My fellow Liberians, the question is, how can we as a people move beyond this impasse? How can we build a progressive nation in which all Liberians will thrive? Today, here in Greensboro, North Carolina, in these here United States, I have come not to recount history. I have come not to talk about old tales and our glorious past. No, excuse my disregard for play, pageantry, and old order. I am not part of that institution. I have come for one and only one reason. It is to convict you to action. Therefore, kindly indulge me for a few minutes as I speak to you tonight on the topic, the audacity to act, claiming the spirit of independence. On February 6, 1820, 86 people boarded a ship bound for a strange place. These were settlers who were resolved to change their condition. They were endowed with the spirit of independence, of self-expression. On July 26, 1847, in the span of 7 years, these settlers boldly declared to the world that they were a sovereign people ready and able to chart their own course and build for themselves a prosperous nation. Unfortunately, the declaration wasn't all-inclusive. The same treatment that has subjugated them in the antebellum South of the United States, they employ on their local brothers and sisters. On April 12, 1980, 133 years after independence, a cataclysmic shift in the order that governed the nation occurred. It was the initial slide into the spirit of backwardness that has consumed us as a people. This shift was a result of the unattended tension that existed between the indigenous and the settlers since the genesis of the acquaintances. Sadly, now listen to me, sadly, the pressure has never truly been mitigated, and it is gaining prominence again. So please forgive me if I do not bask you with tales of how great things used to be. I haven't gotten the time or the desire to do so. Liberia is too old and undeveloped for us to be reveling in tales of yesteryear. Many similar African countries such as Rwanda and others who share common fate as ours are forging ahead, building individuals and institutions, while we are occupied with self-aggrandizement. This attitude of greed, prestige, and showmanship led to the bloodshed we experienced in our history. We moved past bloodshed in the 1980s, 1983, and 1985 without making the necessary adjustment. In 1989, on the eve of Christmas, we began the march toward decay. For the next 14 years, we decimated everything we mustered. Since 2005, we have embarked upon the slowest nation-building effort the world has ever known. As we return to the polls in a few months, the spirit of enthusiasm and a forward march that generally leads the people to accomplishment is lacking. We are bereft of any new ideas, and we seem poised for repeat of old ones. Again, I ask you, what can we as a people do to move beyond the impasse, the dead end? Since action is our singular option, again the word action is scary. Since action is our singular option, let me encourage you to embrace the audacity to act. We cannot yearn for the glorious days of old, speak of how good things used to be, and wallow in anger of how our previous actions have led us to despair. Blame will keep us buried. The successes of yesteryear cannot take us into tomorrow. We must forge a new offense. We must begin the climb. The ways of our forefathers cannot take us into the future. The work required for the change we seek cannot be passed down to the next generation. We must do our part. We must act. I have been questioned on many occasions about the action required to alter the state of affairs in Liberia. The option that leads us to physical destruction of lives and property will and must never be considered. We are an experienced people. Let our past teach our future. If change must come to Liberia, the best action necessary to bring it is the action of separating ourselves from the borrowed comfort that weakens us and do the work that empowers us. Time is never an ally, and the dogmas of old that have crippled us must be abandoned. On December 1st, 1862, the very president that signed the Emancipation Proclamation, Abe Lincoln, wrote a memo to Congress in 1862, and he said in that note, the dogmas of our quiet past are inadequate to our stormy present. The occasion is part of our difficulties. We must rise with the occasion. As our case anew, we must think anew and act anew. We must disenthrall ourselves, and then we shall save our country. It is in this spirit of separation from the old order that I have come. I have come to nudge you in the spirit of self-determination, of freedom, and spirit of independence. I have come to push you to action. The work of saving our country requires boldness in our action, and it demands our participation. We cannot detach ourselves from the work required and expect the country to function. We cannot desire change in Liberia and wish it from afar. We must all get involved at whatever level we are qualified. Because we are an incredulous people, or skeptical people, or people lacking courage, our first order of business must be to summon the spirit of bravery. There can be no true independence without a definite intention, without a deliberate objective. Without the spirit of freedom bubbling in us, we will never act on our convictions. It is that thirsty spirit that gives the life to the audacity required to move beyond our complacency, which is our fear. What is the spirit of independence, you ask? The spirit of independence is the spirit of hard work. The spirit of independence is the spirit of commitment. The spirit of independence is the spirit of absolute resolution. The spirit of independence is the spirit of courage. Commitment, absolute resolution, hard work, and courage are the qualities required for action. The audacity to act, the gallantry to go where you are uncomfortable, is predicated on your will to embrace values that are dear to you. Without values, our actions are corrupt. It is value people use to chart their course. It is conviction that brings them to action, and a shared culture that is the glue of their society. What is the shared culture that defines us as Liberians? What are we known for around the world? At the mention of the name Liberia, what is the culture narrative that follows? Aha! Therein lies the silence, and in the silence, therein lies your work. Now, at this point, usually, a speaker who has went on rambling about all these aspirations, what is my authenticity? What gives me the authority to be an orator and speak on these things of value and freedom and action? What is my role in this thing? What am I on a part got to play here? All the talking here. What am I on? Right? Why standing to say all the talking, you not do song? You say, oh, my act, where you acting at? That's your story. Now, no better story can I tell to make the case of audacious action than my very own. I have not come to spew fine and empty words. It is only through my experience I can speak to the things I value, and through the clarity of my example will you believe me and follow your own story. On September 11, 2011, when I resigned my lucrative position, returned my borrowed comfort to go home to Liberia and help with the work of nation building, there was no apprehension in my action. I had reached a place in my life where there was no need for any exertion on my part. My study and work afforded me the ability to take care of my family and maintain a comfortable existence. I appreciated how the seasons came and went, how secure I was. During the 2008 recession, I was earning the most I had ever earned, with the potential to crack the coveted six-figure mark. So when I announced to family and friends that I was walking away from the perks I enjoy and not walking into a ready job in Liberia, my sanity was questioned. What will make a man with the responsibilities of a young family to care for, mortgage to pay, and the potential to earn more, abandon it all without the safety net? What will cause him to do that? The answer to that question, my fellow Liberians, is simple. It is the spirit of independence, the spirit of self-expression, the spirit of freedom that will make anyone do such glorious things. Since I have been to the other side and back, let me educate you that the work required for independence is not easy. Failure is an integral part of the process. Time cannot be a factor in the process. It is a continuous effort. And let me not gloss over the fact that I left the front line and returned to comfort here. My fellow Liberians, in the pursuit of freedom, rest, retreat, and rejuvenation is not resignation. Play is not pacifism. They are the necessary tools required for the sustained effort to achieve the goal. We must remain hopeful. that our sustained action will lead us to true independence. Voters 44, in persons of Barack Obama, in his book, The Audacity to Act, wrote these words about hope. He said, hope is not blind optimism. Hope is not ignoring the enormity of the task ahead or the roadblock that stands in our path. Hope is not sitting on the sidelines or shirking from a fight. But hope is that thing inside of us that insists, that's by all evidence to the contrary, something better awaits if we have the courage to reach for it, to work for it, and to fight for it. Hope is the belief that destiny will not be written for us, but by us. By the men and women who are not content to settle for the world as it is, who have the courage to remake the world as it should be. In the final analysis, as we gather each year to celebrate the occasion of our nation's independence, let's take stock of where we've been as a people, as a nation. Let's gauge where we are and compare it to our aspirations, to where we want to go. The gap between where we are and where we hope to be determines the degree of the work yet to be done. And from the surface, from the poor healthcare system, impassable roads, failed education system, overall collapsed institutions, we cannot afford to play small, and we cannot dwell too heavily on external aid to fix our problems. It is only by employing whatever talent within us for the prosperous ends we desire that will improve our country. The almost 2 centuries of friction that exists between the descendants of both settlers and indigenous is another yardstick of our current position. Until our collective actions and our collective righteousness can shift our current consciousness to a different level, my fellow Liberians, I'm saddened to say that grief and gripe will continue to grip our growth. I came here tonight to tell you that bickering or all our microscopic criticism of how helpless our situation is cannot bring us a solution. E.L. Epstein, in the historical notes of William Golding's Lord of the Flies, wrote these words: the shape of our society depends on the ethical nature of each individual, not on any political system, however respectable or logical. If each one of us would turn our gaze inward and connect the biases we find, if we would roll up our sleeves, plant our heels in the soil of brotherliness, and tilt our shoulders to the wheel of patriotism, our country would be the better for it. For those of us in the diaspora, our audacity to act is predicated on our ability to return our borrowed comfort and embrace the hard work required to build for ourselves the nation we fancy. We all cannot make the transition at once, but we must identify and support individuals who are on the front line. We must look within ourselves and question our listlessness. We must implicate ourselves in the problem that afflicts us. We must return our borrowed comfort and assume the hard work required for nation building. My fellow Liberians, if we do these things, we can change ourselves. Only then will we start the march into true independence. Thank you.